Hi folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Come here with the review of two exceptional products that are on the Android market. We have the Google Nexus 5 and the AT&T HTC One. Both these phones, very popular phones, have sold very well and of course have their own mix of groups that tend to love one product over another. But what we're going to do is do a phone versus comparison today here, much like we do on our channels. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube so you can see all the different comparisons we're doing with these phones. And also, we're going to review the camera, benchmarks, and tell you what we think about both phones after spending quite a bit of time with them. So, we have the Google Nexus 5, which comes to us from google.com. You can search for the Nexus 5 on the, of course, Google network and find the place you can take and purchase it for $350 right now as of this video. And we have the AT&T. You can find it at AT&T.com HTC One. Both great phones. So let's start off by going through the specs so that we can do that right off the bat, get the lowdown on how these two compare. Both, I should note, have beautiful screens. The Nexus 5, many people like the Nexus 5 because it comes out with no bloatware, no crapware. It doesn't come out with wear from the companies that make the phone. It doesn't come out with wear that the companies who are the carriers for the phone. It pretty much comes directly from Google. You get the latest updates from Google, and it works really well. People really like that effect. Now, the Nexus 5 has got Android 4.4 on it. It's got a 5.43 inch height, 2.72 inches in width, and 0.34 inches in thickness. The weight is 4.59 ounces. Comparatively, the HTC One comes with Android 4.3 you can take and get on it. It's got a dimensions of 5.41, 2.69 in width, and 0.37 inches, and weighs a little bit more, 5.04 ounces than the Nexus 5. On the Nexus 5, you're looking at a 5-inch screen with 1080p resolution, 455 ppi, which is pixels per inch, and it definitely is a beautiful screen. It's an IPS LCD with 16.7 million colors. With the display on the HTC One, it's 4.7 inches with 1080p, 468 ppi, so a little bit more, even though it's a little bit smaller. LCD 3 multi-touch screen. I gotta tell you, they're both beautiful screens on these devices, as I mentioned before. The camera on the Nexus 5 is 8 megapixels. A lot of people weren't too excited about some of the features of it and how well it shot. When it first came out, they've put out an update with the 4.2.2 software, and people seem to be a lot happier with that. 8 megapixels. It's got also 1080p at 30 frames per second, with front-facing camera at 1.3 megapixels. On the HTC One, you're looking at the camera. It's got a 4 megapixel camera with the marketing that says it's an ultra pixel. So the pixels that it takes are bigger, and according to HTC One, it's supposed to be better, etc., etc. It's got a 1080p HD video camcorder, a 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera. The hardware that's inside the Nexus 5 is definitely some of the latest to come on the market. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 series, definitely a rock and roller, 2.2 gigahertz quad-core processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes of storage. On the HTC One, you're looking at a Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 processor, so one step back, older model, quad-core 1.7 gigahertz, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. On the battery, with the Nexus 5, you're looking at 2300 milliamp hour battery. Conversely, on the battery, 2300 milliamp, the same virtually on the HTC One. Both have NFC technology. One cool fact about the Nexus 5 is that you can take and have QI technology that's already in it. You can get a wireless charger, and the QI technology wireless charger that's built into the phone will work with it. So you can literally set your Nexus 5 on the QI charger, and it will charge wirelessly, so you don't have to plug it in. That's a very nice feature of both of this phone. Now, between both these phones, neither of them have like a removable back. They don't have an additional way to add more battery where you can take and flip out one battery to another. They don't have the ability to put in a micro SD card to expand the memory, so they're both very similar in that aspect. So across the front, we have the front-facing camera, we have the speaker, we have your back, home, and recent apps capacitive touchscreen buttons. Along the top here, we have some sensors. You have your front-facing speaker, and the one thing to note about the HTC One that's really identifiable is the front-facing speaker. It's really freaking awesome, the speaker that's on the HTC One. With it being front-facing, it is stereo, so you have stuff moved from left to right also, which is a very nice feature for the phone. Front-facing camera, you have your capacitive touch screen with a back button and a home button. I got to tell you, I do love the front-facing speakers on the HTC One. It really creates a nice effect when you're watching video or gaming. So that's very nice and very unique to it, and a lot of people like it for that aspect. Well, on the backs of the devices, you have on the Nexus 5 your camera eye, your flash lamp, and that's pretty much it. On the HTC One, you have a small microphone hole, you have a flash lamp, and a camera eye. And you also have Beats audio. We should probably note with HTC One, any music you play through your headphones will have the Beats audio kind of synthesized effect put on them that is supposed to enhance your music like an equalizer and make it sound much better. Let's take a look at the tops and around the outsides of both these devices. On the top of the Nexus 5, we have your earphone jack, small microphone jack hole there on the right. On the HTC One, we have a power button, and inside the power button is the IR blaster. So you can use this to control your TV, etc., etc. There's the earphone jack that you see there at the top. Along the right-hand side with the HTC One, we have a really cool-looking volume rocker button. We have your power button on the Nexus 5 and your SIM card chip area. Along the bottom of the Nexus 5, we have a speaker with a sync charge port cable, along with the sync port charge cable plug that you see on the HTC One, and a microphone hole there. Coming down the left-hand side of both these devices, we have your volume up and down rocker button, SIM card hole tray for the HTC One. Both are beautifully well built, although I love the build on the HTC One, the beautiful aluminum back, and it's just sharply well done. Just a really beautiful piece of hardware, very comparable to what you're going to find with even the iPhone 5 build and everything else. I like the Nexus. It's a solid build. The buttons are a little jiggy. They kind of have a cheap feel to them, and they move around a little bit. But other than that, it's a solid phone and does a great job. The overall aspect of both these phones comparatively is with the Nexus 5, you're looking at a phone that's you can buy outright for $350 directly from Google. Get all the latest updates. Doesn't have bloatware or crapware. The HTC One, conversely, is probably going to cost you maybe $500 or twice that amount, given when you watch this video, of course, and what sales are going on, etc., etc. But you're going to spend a lot more for the HTC One, almost a double, than you would over the Nexus 5. That can be a huge factor, and for $350, what you're spending with Google, you're getting a lot of value, an incredible amount of value, because you're getting a phone that not only has the fastest and latest hardware on it, you're getting a phone that is very fast, very efficient, and doesn't have crap or bloatware, again, if I don't mind mentioning that, but it also has, some of the latest and greatest stuff you can do. One thing I do want to mention, too, is the great thing about the Nexus 5 is you can flip to the right to left, left to right, and be able to get in and out of using the Google Now feature. So they built the Google Now feature really deep integrated into the Nexus 5, which is really cool. It makes it so that you can you just don't have to hunt for that app anymore, which makes a huge, huge difference. So what we're running right now is we're going to run Geekbench 3. We're going to compare both these in benchmarks. You can see we already have an outgoing score right now of 2644 for the multi-core score for the Nexus 5. And then we also have the single-core score for the Nexus 5 of 907. Okay, and now we have the HTC One score, so 572 single core score, 1614. You can compare the two of these. Key difference here, of course, is one's using a different build of operating system from Android. You can see we have 4.3 on this, and it is the latest version as of this video that's available for the HTC One. And we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 600. You can see that what huge processor makes, especially one that's almost 0.5 faster or more than 0.5 faster. So taking a look at that, Let's take a look at the cameras and talk about the cameras. Now, as I mentioned before, the camera initially on the the camera on the Nexus 5 had some issues with it. They fixed them with the latest build, so that's been resolved. And the HTC One is known as a comparable good camera. It's 4 megapixels with ultra pixels. It takes good pictures. It has like a Zoe feature where you can put pictures together into like a video format, or you can combine pictures into a format that makes them fun. It has different scenes, of course, that you can take and put into your pictures. You can adjust a lot of different things customizable wise with the camera, just like you can on any Android with iOS, etc., etc. With the Nexus 5, it's got some unique features at setting up camera, video, panorama, 360 shots, as you can do everything with a 360 shot on the HTC One. You got several different things you can do to customize your pictures and video, as you can see here. It's got a really cool interface where you can easily get into your gallery, flip stuff around, edit pictures and everything else. You can get into the HTC One just by pressing the area over here, and away you go, as you can see with my dog. Personally, I think both cameras are about the same when it comes to quality of output. I might prefer the Nexus 5 better. One aspect of the Nexus 5 is they've added a huge amount of the ability to take very, very sharp pictures with it. And the pictures do come out incredibly sharp, as well as the video. So if I was to pick the better of two cameras, I'd probably pick the Nexus 5, especially with the update that they put in. And the pictures do come out looking very clear, very sharp, very brilliant in how they do things. So that's my opinion on that. Now, both are excellent phones, as I mentioned. The real big difference here that's very glaring is price, because of what you're getting for the price and everything else. Both are exceptional phones, great screen size. I think the Nexus 5's got a better camera. That's just my opinion. And the Nexus 5 appears to be faster on benchmarking speeds, and it will rock and roll, do the job. Doesn't have the bloatware, doesn't have the crapware that people like, and you'll be able to get the latest updates from Google. I'll let you make the decision as to what's good for you. Be sure to follow us and like us on YouTube. You can go to google.com and search for the Nexus 5, order yourself up one. Or you can go to our good friends at AT&T with the fastest download and upload speeds and order the HTC One. And by doing so, you can enjoy some great phones, or you can see some other great phones on their website. Thanks for coming by the chrisvossshow.com. Be sure to check back in often.